Anne Curley.
Hi Richard.
This is Richard Lynch, you're watching ilovelimerick.com, and I'm here with living Limerick legend Anne Curley. I'm actually in the Curiosity Shop on Wickham Street, which is the shop next door to her own, and I wanted to meet Anne in honour of her 80th birthday, talk to her about her life and share her story with Limerick. And the first thing I wanted to ask you about is your childhood. You're not from Limerick, so where did you grow up?
Borough, County Offaly. I left there, I suppose 16, 17 after finishing school, and I went to Dublin and became a paediatric nurse at the given time in Temple Hill, and then I went to Italy for 10 years.
What brought you to Italy?
Au pair.
Au pair. And then, so you had a background in nursing. That's what makes you care so much about
and
people.
it was children's nursing I had, and that time there was a lot of diseases in Dublin with children, and there was the fostering and the adoption.
Yeah.
And that's where I realised that children had a right, and children had a right to a life. Now people will talk about adoption. I often found it was a great relief, both for the mother and those who adopted the child.
Yes.
At the
God's
given time,
gift, my mother says.
At the given time,
Yeah.
it wasn't accepted, but some of those children were very lucky. Most of them were, and those who did it with good intentions.
Of course, absolutely. And what brought you to Limerick? Why Limerick? How old
Bishop-
were you when you came here?
I was when Bishop Wise Jackson, before I went to Italy, the hospital. Wife was expecting twins.
The bishop.
The bishop, his wife,
Yeah.
Margie and John, and
The bishop had babies?
Yeah, he had 5 children. So they asked me, would I go down, and I went down and I looked after the twins for a year and a half.
Wow.
And then I went down to Italy.
And then you came back to Limerick again?
I came back to Limerick again, and
Why?
I came back. I liked Limerick.
I love Limerick.
I really.
You love Limerick too,
yeah,
right?
Oh, Limerick had a great attraction to me, and I found when I was with Bishop Wise Jackson, I got to know many people around, and he said to me, would I be interested in joining a play school which had opened in Cardiff, and I said yes.
What year was this? You're 80 now.
1967. Oh no, it was about 65.
Oh, so Limerick has been your full-time home
Yes,
since
for
then?
50 years now, my
Wow.
full-time home. And I bought a house in Coona for £200 at the airfield
Oh my God!
in 1972.
£200!
Yeah.
So you were living in Coona. What brought you to Weston?
Claire O'Mahony had her son Peter going to the preschool out in Cardiff, and she asked Pam Stutter, who owned the preschool, would she take it, and Pam said to me, that's for you. And I met
So the
Claire
preschool
O'Mahony.
was in Weston and you went to work there?
There was no preschool there at all. They used to work with girls from Dublin, single parenting. They'd come down and have their child here, but they'd live with people in Limerick. And they used to do voluntary work up in Weston.
Oh.
So I went up to Weston, and I just looked around, and I noticed an awful lot of kids weren't at school. So I said to Claire, she was really St. Anne's Guild. They belonged to the Jesuits. They were a group of women that used to look after youth that used to sleep out. And that time kids in
Wow.
Weston, there was 8 to 25 in houses. People don't realise there were so
Wow.
many. So I went up there and I opened a preschool. There was a bargain made. If they went to school and they weren't hanging around the playground, they could come to the playground in the evening from 4 to 11 at night. So that's
you gave them a place to
that they could always come.
be social
yeah.
and hang out.
And that was the idea. So everything moved from that, and from the play school, it went on to the after school. Now youth that time were 17 to 25. And half the men coming in at night were married and owned half the children that were there. But they had nowhere else to go to. And anything I learned, or anything that had a skill, had to pass it on to one of the children.
Education is so incredibly important to you, isn't it?
It was
Why
very
is that?
because I found, where were they going to go if they couldn't find a job? And like, even if they only mended the bicycle, I used to say there's a bicycle shop down there, go down, you might get a job there, or anything, playing table tennis, you could go on the tennis competition, swimming, anything. That whatever I showed them, even knitting, sewing, darning, the boys were great at knitting and sewing and machining, and the guards gave me the price of the sewing machine. and they did, and the kids be using the sewing machine, and if they were messing, somebody said, that belongs to the guards, you better watch it. And but there was Danis was there that time, so they could go into
What's
Dan.
Dan's?
Danis was the sewing place for making
All right.
suits.
Yeah.
So once they learned to use the sewing machine, I
And were
used to
you
say-
there full time, day in, day out, just helping all these kids?
And the after school program, but the
after-school.
thing is, they couldn't come in during school hours. So if I caught them outside, you weren't at school, you can't come in tonight. And that sort of, but I will say the women up
You
in
must be
Ross-
very tough to be able to.
Oh, I was as tough as nails.
Wow.
And we had very good parishioners up there. They funded it through bingo. We had Father Dempsey up there and Father O'Donnell, and he ran the
And was
youth.
that your job?
Well, in the beginning, after school wasn't, and eventually the corporation, through Claire O'Mahony, took me on, and that became half my job. And the preschool then was run by the health board.
What was the importance of teaching kids to swim? How did I hear all these stories about
I'll tell you now.
taught a half of Weston how to swim.
I did, and-
Even I met you the other day outside your shop, and a man to wish her happy birthday, and someone come and said, "Gee, Anne taught me how to swim," screamed across the road.
Yeah, I was in after the au pair in Italy. I got into a college near Mons, a racetrack, and I like speed at any time, so I had to go with the racetrack. But anyway, that made no difference. But there was a swimming pool in the college, and nobody in Ireland had a college with a swimming pool. So they had opened a swimming pool out the Ennis Road.
I remember that.
210 children I used to walk
Wow.
out, and it was led by
Used to walk them from Weston out to the Ennis
Weston,
Road.
and of course there was only the one bridge. Do you remember the one bridge? And I'd say Kay Daly.
Sarsfield Bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There was no other bridge, and we used
Yeah.
to walk the whole way out. But I'll tell you, the funny thing is, the first time I walked them out, I didn't know the way back, but I knew there was a sinking church. So
Yes, the sinking church. Yes.
we left the swimming pool at about 6:30, and I wasn't coming into Weston. But I knew it was only an hour and a half out. 7, 7:30, 8. And I stopped and I asked a man at 9:30, where was the sinking church? And he said to me, "You're out in the pitch and putt in Mungret." He said, "It's in Limerick."
You took a wrong turn and you ended up at Mungret?
And the kids didn't even tell me. I said,
You're
"It's the kids,
so-
we were out all day."
This was your first time going to the swimming pool?
Yeah, in the
Wow.
Ennis Road, and the corporation were very good. Now they will say they did question why I wanted to do this, and I maintain the children had a right, because the kids from this side didn't swim, but the kids from Killeely, they all swam in the Shannon. Our lads didn't, and there was a sort of a social study done, and the social study talked about the kids. The odour, the smell and all that, and I said they were right to be washed. There was no bathrooms in the houses at the time, and we used to walk out there every Thursday. We got it free.
It was poor, very poor at the time.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
really poor. But you see, the men had the handling of the money, not the women. And then Krups came in.
and gave them
Krups,
all jobs.
the women.
My sister-in-law worked in Krups.
Yeah, the women,
Catherine, my
and
beautiful
They
sister-in-law.
were great, and there was Mrs. O'Grady up there, and every coming up from January till the children went on holidays, she'd pass the box down, and that used to pay for the food for
From
the
they used to
children.
do a donation from
Yeah,
Krups.
all the
Oh,
loose
wow.
money in your. That time we often got £20 for the week, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they up for Krups, and they do it in January up to July. We ended up then. They had the build Limerick the pool up in South Hill.
Oh, right.
Then so they closed the one on the Ennis Road, and they built houses out there. So and then they won in South Hill. And
Oh, there was a pool in South Hill? I never knew
oh,
that.
there was. It's only closed about 3 or 4 years since they
Oh.
closed Corbally.
All right.
Since they opened the new
So
one
then
in
you were
Corbally.
taking them all to South Hill to
Yeah,
swim?
so we used to just run across the field, and I didn't realise a lot of the lads were from different parts of the city, and they used to finish at 4 and used to pop over. I went to some fella, I fell off the motorbike, and I went with some fella, and he said to me, I said, "How much do I owe you?"
You fell off of a motorbike?
I did.
Why, did you have a motorbike?
Oh yeah, and he sold it 3 years
You're
ago.
a lunatic. I
Fella
know.
brought it out. Fella brought it out the other day to me. Yes, on Saturday to have a go at it. He bought it 3 years ago, and his father-in-law John Harrington, he was very good. It was every 10 years I used to get a new one. And I said to him, "Do you see that motorbike? I wouldn't have a car only for that,
Yeah.
because then it cost me €2 to run the motorbike for
Yeah.
a week."
Yeah.
And he bought it and started spinning up the road and down again. But
Having
that was the
wind
motorbike.
flying through your hair.
you had to wear the helmet.
Oh, you had to wear
Yes,
the
well,
helmet.
in Wolftown Street, electric wire came down and went across my neck. And you know that thing you had on your only for I had that thing on my chin.
The guard?
Yeah.
Wow.
It got caught in that.
Yeah.
It swung me around. But anyway, it was my own fault.
But you survived.
Oh, I didn't even get a scratch.
And so you went from South Hill then to Ballycotton in Cork?
No. Thomond College started up.
Oh.
And this girl...
There was a swimming pool in Thomond College?
Yeah.
Oh.
And this girl, she was from Northern Ireland, Joanne Moles. I don't know whether you ever thought... She came into the social service centre and she said they wanted to teach the students how to work with groups. And said to Joe Revel in there, do you know anybody group that? And Joe rang us. There was 8 different places in different housing schemes around the city. And Joe rang us all and asked us would we be interested. So we used to go out for a full week, let's say at 9 in the morning till 2. Weston with 2 buses would go out. And the afternoon it could be from 2 to 6. The island would go out. And they'd run different games. So Joanne then, when school came on, she had students going for their exams. And she used to ask me to bring out 12 to 24 every Tuesday for diving. So to motivated themselves with swimming. But we also did the life saving with them. I used to say, like, you'll get a job out of it. And a few of them did get jobs out of it. But it was
So
one of
what
the best
year?
things.
You opened a place in Ballycotton in Cork and you brought loads of kids.
Wait now, that goes again to Gay Byrne and Father Dempsey was in the social service centre, and we had the house in Ballybunion, Ballyloughran. They let it to me for about 12 years or so. And we were going down there until Anco moved in. But while Anco were doing up the house, we rang Gay Byrne, and Gay Byrne put it on the radio. Would there be a house anywhere in Ireland that would tolerate a group of children to go down for the summers? And I said, oh God, I'd love that. Because I taught at the college in Italy. And so we were
When you
going
went to college in Italy?
when I was working
So
out
you'd
there.
have a central space to bring
Yeah,
all these
kids,
And then
yeah.
you ended up taking them to Cork to Ballycotton, right?
Oh yeah, and then it came up for sale. So Father Rock had it, we bought it off of him. And we still go down there.
And so you own that house now?
We own that house. Well, the children own it really when we think of it.
And so you bring them down for a whole summer?
Yeah, well, we bring 20 a week. We used to bring 45, but the health board came down on top of us. And now parents can go down and use it if they want to with their children.
And when you bring them all down, there's no technology, no phones, no
There's nothing down there,
computers.
no. They have to go over the hills to get your phone. And they're only allowed to phone home on a Friday. So
Because that teaches them all to be together, to communicate,
That's right,
to be social.
and to
because that's all
help each other,
evaporating
yeah.
now with social media.
yeah, to
and the
help
internet.
each other, like, you know what I mean? And like one could swim and maybe one can't swim, and to watch each other. And we're outside Ballycotton, we're 3 miles outside Ballycotton, so they have to walk every day into Ballycotton, and they get €1 each, and they have to walk walk home.
And how do you feed them all? Where does the money come to fund them?
The shop comes.
Your shop next door,
yeah,
second time round on Wickham
that
Street.
funds it now.
And then you have the milk market stall.
Yeah,
How
well,
long do you have both of those?
We don't get very much money out of the milk. We used to get it before they put up the cover of it. Now we're lucky we make 6 to 10, 20 euros a week.
Why is that?
There's too many second-hand shops everywhere.
There's too many now all over.
But really,
Limerick.
it's our way of communicating.
Yeah.
People come down with things, or they'd say, I'll drop it into you. But,
And you still make a few bob next door
yeah,
that
it's
you,
the same
you
way,
donate
and
all the money.
nobody gets paid out of it, only their rent for the shop.
Wow.
That's the only thing is, and
Yeah.
it's theirs.
So you do it all voluntary.
Yeah, and where we are in Ballyandreen, beside Ballycott, it's a little alcove on its own. Where that ship is, we're just around the corner where that ship is.
Wow.
So we're sort of quite.
How long have you had the shop here and the one in the milk market?
We must be in the milk market about 40 years. We always went down there. We used to make great money down there first because there was only 2 second-hand shops. This shop, I'd say we only have it about 20 years.
And so all that money funds,
Goes back
and
in.
you're still taking 20 kids? Now,
Yeah.
you're not at the moment because of
Well,
circumstances
we're hoping
with
this
COVID.
year. If not, we're not taking them. We're hoping to send families down there. They can go down, 2 or 3 families can share the house
Yeah,
together. Let them, if they're all related.
yeah.
I
And
don't-
so did you ever marry?
No, never
you
married.
never had
No
kids?
intention of it.
And you,
I'll
and
tell
you, so you literally adopted hundreds of kids from all over Limerick.
touch the life
Instead-
of hundreds of them, yeah.
And do you think that this was a calling from God for you? Do you like?
Not at all. I don't know what it was. It's just, I always felt that children had a right. And I used to find when you raise children in a family to 25, some of them had, what chance have the children?
I know. And what's the biggest obstacle for young people today, do you think?
Drugs. People will have to come to terms with drugs. Yeah, there's money in it, and it's easy to say they're on drugs. If you've
And it's
no
easy
money,
also to sell drugs.
oh
to
yeah,
make
but if
money,
you've no
yeah.
money and you're going to sell them because you want to look as good as the next person,
Yeah.
the direction from parents is not very good today. I could call on any of the parents, and okay, some of them might tell you to hump off, but you
Yeah.
go back the next day when they'd sober up and they realise she did call.
People
Parents,
respect that you care, don't they?
They very much so.
Yeah,
And that's what you wanted to go to
yeah.
keep on that way.
And you turned 80 last week.
I did.
With a massive milestone, and you receive so much love from people, don't you?
Care.
How does that make you feel?
The way I look at it is I'm very, I suppose we would say simple, because the way I look at it is that was the life I chose. I deliberately chose that life. And to see a child getting on, even going to school, it just meant something. Because I found that the teachers really tried their best to get them to read and write. But my aim was they read and write, but an extra thing. I would have loved to seen the golfing to come in for children. Pitch and
Like
push.
all these amenities, give
yeah.
them, yeah.
We used to use the art gallery there.
And teach them how to work with one another,
That's
more importantly.
oh yeah, and we used to go to the art gallery there, and I used to your man used to let me bring in 20, and I have all the rest in the park. And the kids, even the big fellas, 15, to put their hands behind their back, used to tell them, and like a penny, if they touch the paintings, this is all, you'll ruin the paintings.
And you had to keep all these young people in line. How
Yeah.
did you do that?
Just look at them.
Yeah.
Well, we had Father Kerwin, he used to say, one day I said, I'll go and get something. Oh no, he said, stand here. The minute you walk out of here, they give us hell. You stay here. He said, I'll run anywhere for you. And all I had to say, I'm warning you. That was it.
In the last 80 years, what were the highlights for you personally that made you feel...
When I see the children and the grandchildren now swimming, going out and going to the art galleries, going to the theatre, like, there was always sort of a thing to aim for.
And what would help you now, Anne? Because you're obviously not done. You're 80, but you're continuing with your work.
Somebody must take my step. Now, I have a few families and I'm just watching them, and I'd say, could be. Now, but they do have children.
Someone to take over the work you do.
Yeah, somebody else to follow through.
Yes.
And
to continue your important
yeah, and not
work.
to sort of be rules and regulations. You must have a few of them, and you must teach them and follow them through. But we were to go by what's going today. There's no guideline for them. Okay, you go to school, but how many apprenticeships are there? Bicycles now, they're going to need apprentices for bicycles.
Yeah.
Very few know how to even change a tyre.
And so what would you like for your own future? Where do you see yourself?
Oh, I've had a good life and I've enjoyed every bit of it. I've
Yeah.
travelled the world, so nothing bothers me. Let it off.
Yeah. You don't sweat the small stuff and you don't
No.
get involved.
No,
and you just try to keep your eye on the ball and on your work.
I don't know whether I do or not. I'd hate the head off of somebody going up there if I saw them messing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care who they were. Or the drop of paper. Excuse me.
Do you know, you remind me of my sister Maeve.
Yeah.
She's a principal of a school.
Yes.
And you really remind me of her, to be honest with
But
you.
you
I
have
think
to.
I'd love you to meet her.
You have to, if I see them throwing papers, Mrs. You dropped something.
Can I tell you, I will be killed one day in Limerick because when people litter,
I dread
it drives me insane. Or when
Yeah.
they don't pick up their dog poop, like, I hate to be rude, but don't shit where you eat is my expression.
I don't say
it's like,
just...
Why I
that?
don't understand. Why I think it's the worst of the worst of the worst.
Of any of them,
it's so being so unaware and not caring about your environment.
Not even bothering to care. Not even, they are aware of it, but they don't care.
And what do you love most about Limerick?
Is atmosphere. I think there's a lovely atmosphere, and people are giving. I love
the people here.
Now I have learned more from the people I worked with.
Yeah.
Economical factors. It was from the people in Limerick. I learned how to use a credit union. I hadn't a clue how to buy things.
Yeah.
And it was most of the people I worked with that showed me the way.
And you've always felt loved and you're never alone, are you?
No, never. And it doesn't bother me if I'm alone because I have my own mind.
What would you like to say to the people of Limerick? All the people you've met?
There was Lions' Club, there was Joe Revel in the social service, there were the bingo group being the backed me, and then Marie Teefy followed through on education for the women. And all from the parish, they all sort of took their little bit and led on and knew what was needed. We have great adult education.
An amazing sense of community, right?
Yeah, and adult education has been just brilliant, and they still are. I can go up to them in the youth services up there, and to Cora's up there, and she'll tell me what's going and what's
I know
not
Cora,
going.
Of course, she's lovely. Yeah.
Great, she's full, and she was only young when she went in there.
You've met some amazing people, I bet, haven't you?
Oh yeah,
the people that are like you never hear about, that are on the ground,
and they're
getting their hands dirty, doing all the work.
They are, and they're
like my sister.
Yeah,
and like my mother. My mother did. My mother was.
Oh, she did. She was on the ground.
She helped everybody. She was always raising money for St. Gabriel's. She was going to the cash and carry, buying stuff in the cash and carry, selling raffle tickets on a Wednesday and Sunday in the pub, donating all the money. Everything was always about
for another thing
people.
To help in the parish.
Absolutely, but that's where I think I get it from.
That's lovely. It's a lovely gift to be handed down, and I can see it in the people in the parish. Lions' Club was another club that really used to help me. They used to pay the transport for me for about 30, 40 years. Up and down. Like I'd be talking about £1,000 for 3
because
buses
they believed in you and they cared about you.
Up and down, went Ballybunion, and then they came to Ballycotton. Unbelievable, you know what I mean? Such a group of people. And St. Anne's Guild was connected with the Jesuits. They were the first, I remember, to discover the youngsters sleeping out. That's why they worked in Our Lady of Lourdes Parish, because there was a lot of kids sleeping out.
And it's a horrible problem at the moment, homelessness. It's shocking.
But it was there all
these
the time.
Things make you very sad. And do you think about these things all
No,
the
I
time?
don't. I think because the homeless today, there's a reason for it. It's either they're thrown out of home for drink or drugs, or they don't give a fuck.
Right.
Sorry. No, when I see them sleeping out now, I used to pity the Lithuanians because they used to sleep out and they'd come in and buy a sleeping bag today and the next day it was taken up because they left it in a plastic bag. It was gone, so they had to buy another one.
Oh.
I think the foreigners, some of them...
have a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
A really hard time.
And when they see, like, the
it's
drugs... It's
really upsetting, I know, it's so disturbing.
But I think our own don't appreciate... We've a great country.
But we have a great country, but what do you think about what's happening in the world as a whole with Trump and with everything that's happening? Do you think, I feel like the world's going through this massive awakening? That's what I feel. A spiritual awakening. That's what I feel.
Do you know, I agree with you. It has to go through. They have to realise there is someone above us.
Yeah, there's a higher power.
There is.
Whatever you want to call it, absolutely.
There is someone above us, and I have never been able to do without it. I wouldn't have been able to do my job
without your faith.
Yeah, but as well as that, like I would say, many times an escape of drowning, it was the nick of the...
And then you realise that someone is watching over you.
And we also had the Sacred Heart Convent in Roscrea. They used to send up 6 girls every week for 4 weeks from Roscrea to volunteer down in Ballycotton. One girl said to me afterwards, she said it was like a nightmare. We didn't even know what we were walking into, but they did it for 40 years.
To help you?
To help me, and it was through the Social Service Centre that did it. And it was the Army who started the youth clubs in Limerick.
Is there anything you want to say to Limerick before we sign off today? Is there anything you'd like to say that you feel...
I think Limerick, I don't know, I think it keeps going and giving and accepting what we have, but look deeply for tomorrow. They'll have to look deeply into what the youth tomorrow are going to turn into. That's what I would say.
And you're an amazing person.
I don't know about that.
And honestly, you so are. I really, like, I
My
remember...
words don't come that much.
No, I'm not trying to blow smoke, I'm not
yeah.
trying to brown nose you, whatever, but I mean, I've been hearing about you for years. My mother was a massive, massive fan of yours, and I know
Really?
you knew my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And as
And
we
so many
spoke about, you knew my
parents
brother
knew them,
John,
yeah,
who
that-
passed away,
oh, yeah.
and you were very kind to him and Annie Fitz, his partner.
Oh, yeah.
He passed away about 20 years ago.
That's right. He held Annie Fitz in a line that nobody else could hold.
Well, they were partners and they loved each other.
They were like, and
Yeah.
she was always losing it because she threw a hatchet at me in the hall one
Oh,
time.
did she?
She did. She just dreaded me. And anytime I ever said to her, she'd have an incident in the house, and I'd say, "Or to be a death," and I'd sorry, she'd say, "Fuck off." And one day when her brother died, I got her. I said, "Look, Mikey was very good to you,"
Yeah.
and I said I was sorry because I know you liked Mikey. And after that, she sort of started to tolerate me. And like,
She loved my mother.
who?
Annie, my mother was so kind to her.
She was good. She was good to everybody. Your parents.
My mother was the most amazing person
Isn't
ever.
that lovely to have a?
I know, it was
mother
very
like
sad
that?
John passed away, you know.
How old was your mother when she passed away?
When mine passed away, she was 79.
Oh, she's like myself. She got a good go.
She got a good go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
But
she had
left
Parkinson's
good,
disease
oh,
over
had she? Oh, a little
25 years, so that,
That put an apple in the pie.
yeah,
Not a pie in
unfortunately.
the apple, yeah.
And my dad passed away about 10 months before her, so I was their full-time carer for about 8.5 years. I was in New York and I came back.
Did you actually come back from New York, yeah?
Oh my God, I would do anything for my parents. You've only one set of parents, and my parents were so good to us. They were incredible.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Incredible
I know
people.
they were.
They were beautiful
I
people.
great admiration for the way that she looked after John, and
She looked after everybody.
he actually thought they were his mother and father.
Well,
They were
John
to
was
him.
my first cousin,
Yeah, but
and my mom
took him
took him in.
But he
His
always more or
parents
less
passed away.
realised sort of, he used to say to
He was a
my
very
parents,
kind, beautiful person.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he was an alcoholic.
He liked a few jars,
And
and there's
that-
no stopping when you.
But he was a very kind, beautiful human being, and he was very loved. But sometimes a person's
go-
circumstances are so hard,
Yeah, they
and they
can't
choose a
tolerate,
path,
yeah.
and you can't.
I always say that, there go I by the grace of God.
You know,
You know.
you're always like, there's always going to be people that are worse off than you are. Do you
Oh,
consider
yes.
yourself a very blessed person?
Not at all. Normal person. I would consider myself a very lucky person that I've sailed through life so good.
I'm so happy for you. You deserve it.
But now I really have saved through life, and nothing bothers me. Oh, I let a bark out of me every now and again at people and say, "Get off my back" or something. And sometimes it comes worse.
Yeah.
But very few people you ever have to do it to.
Anne Curley, you are a living legend.
I am
and
a
I'm
beyond-
so honoured that I had a chance to talk to you today. And I hope in 30 years' time people are talking about this, because I felt people needed to remember you. As I said, you have been in the background. I've heard about you for years and years and years and years. And I just wanted to meet you, and I'm so honoured I had a chance
Thank
to
you.
meet you today. And I love you, Anne Curley. You are the bomb.
Oh,
Thank you for joining me
Thank you
today.
very much.
Thank you. This
And thank
is
you.
Limerick legend, living legend, Anne Curley. This is Richard Lynch. You've been watching ilovelimerick.com. Really appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.